Okay, so now we're going to be looking at the OSPF ISIS interactions, both directions, and how we can stop loops. Let's start looking first at the ISIS exports. So these are the OSPF routes selected by policy statements and then exported out of the ISIS. So here you can see the policy statement terms themselves. I've shortened the policy statement to give me some more room. And you can see that this is the export out of ISIS taking the route. So let's have a look at the numbers. So we're in the INET 0, we're running with the OSPF preference of 10. We go out to ISIS and we're going to be an external, or we think we will be an external. So we're assuming that we're going to get a preference of 160, but we're running wide area metrics only here. So on IP version 4, it's not going to be 160, it's going to be the 15, because it's going to look like an internal. The 10 from the OSPF is easily able to defend itself against the 15, so that's not a problem, and it would have defended itself against the 160 as well. So in that sense, we're good. We don't need to worry about a loop going the other way. However, in this particular example, Juniper have loaded this router with external routes, and these are before we do any of our work. They're just loaded with externals. So now when you have a look in the table, you actually see a preference of 150. Now that then goes into ISIS, takes the value of the 15, and now the ISIS route would be able to overcome the OSPF route. It can't defend itself as an external at 150. And so we're going to need to do something to prevent that. Now we don't want an import policy on ISIS, although from version 17 that is possible. So what we're going to do is we're going to drop the OSPF value down, and we're going to be dropping the external value down to 13. RIP was 14, we're going to be 13. That way we're lower than the 15, and the route is able to defend itself in that direction. Secondly, what about IP version 6? Well, IP version 6 again would be sitting in the table here at 10, and the externals would be sitting in the table at 150, as you would expect. When they go out to the ISIS, they will actually carry the 160 value. So the external for version 4, which we have here, they really need to be at this 13 level, but the external for the version 6, they can actually stay at the 150 because their ISIS value will be 160. So therefore, although we need this particular command here to drop the external preference to the IP version 4, the IP version 6 external preference, in a sense we could leave it. We're just changing them both for symmetry. Okay, so let's have a look at the other direction. So now we're going to be exporting out of the OSPF, and we're going to be exporting the ISIS out of the OSPF. So the first thing we have to do is to select the ISIS. We're going to select it and tag it. And the reason we're going to do that is because we're going to reuse the import filter that will check for OSPF, check for a tag, and reject it. So as we go from ISIS here into the OSPF, we're going to tag it, and then we're going to reuse the OSPF import policy here that was in place for the RIP protocol. This is, again, a pretty simple setup here. So let's try some numbers. So we're sitting in the ISIS table, and we are sitting at 15. We go into OSPF, and we pick up an external of 150 from both directions. And then as we come back through to this other side, the ISIS in the table would be able to defend itself against 150. We wouldn't need the block. However, if the ISIS was a version 6 external, then of course it would be sitting in the ISIS table at 160. And if it's sitting in the ISIS table at 160, it would be unable to defend itself from the OSPF at 150. And that is why this tag and block is required.